I've been in the game quite a long time. I started in the late 80s when my parents bought me a Tamiya lunchbox, which I then bashed in the streets for probably quite some time before progressing into a local club and getting some more competitive cars. I did start off with a few Tamiyas and then onto a Schumacher Cat, one of the very early ones, an XLS I think it was at the time, and then into sort of Pro Cats, etc. as I progressed. I did have quite a break in racing during during university, etc. But yeah, that's where I first started out. Well, as you can see from here behind me, I'm a Team Yokomo driver. I drive the Yokomo YZ2 Cal2 as two-wheel drive and the YZ4 SF as a four-wheel drive, the shaft car. Well, I have driven a lot of cars over the years, but after having a significant break and coming back into the sport, I mainly drove four-wheel drive at a club level for many years. And it wasn't until I was waiting for the original YZ4 belt car to come out that I purchased the YZ2, the original YZ2. And I absolutely loved the car right from the off. Having not driven two-wheel drive really since the rear motor cars originally were out, I thought the car was absolutely incredible to drive. And the current car that we're using now is really just a progression of that original design. So yeah, fantastic car. I'm not sure I've got really that many great RC results, but I've enjoyed the last sort of 3 years I've now been running in nationals, and it's been a fantastic experience to be in the tent with all the guys, and also to see a lot of the guys that I've competed with in the Midwest and then competing with them at nationals. I have managed this year to get the right side of the A a number of times, which I pride myself in. I think that's a good achievement for where I'm at. I see a lot of this. I help out on the committee at my local club here in Stoke-on-Trent, and what we see more and more nowadays is that because it is a lot easier and cheaper to go very quick, we see people that turn up with the cars and they have the most incredible amount of speed in the car, which doesn't match their ability. The biggest thing that racers need to learn when they're new into the sport is that consistency is far better than having the quickest car on the track. So if you start off with a slow car, learn how to get it around the track, learn the corners, learn how to hit the apexes. That is worth far more than the quickest car down the straight. You can be the quickest person between one crash to the next, but the amount of time that you will lose in those crashes ultimately means less. Well, that's a bit of a difficult one for me, having not really travelled much outside of the UK for racing. Certainly in terms of indoor tracks, I love the circuits that Silverstone managed to put on. I think for an indoor venue on carpet, they are absolutely superb. I know there's a lot of other clubs now doing winter series that are getting up there as well. In terms of outdoor, I think on the national circuit, it's got to be between Robin Hood or Torch. Robin Hood I did quite well at the first time I ever went there, not so great this year, but Torch I've always loved as a circuit as well. I think they are two of the best facilities. There are many other circuits in the UK that we've got that are all good as well, but I think they're my favourite ones personally. So generally I'm not as good as to have a schedule of exactly what I'm there to do. I think for me a lot of it is about laps, so I tend to run a number of laps, then hopefully set up some significant changes and see what those changes will do and make notes accordingly. But I think a lot of the time for me it's about practice, so the more laps that I can put in, the more confident I feel, and I think that for me personally, it is very much a confidence game. I suppose originally I would have said four-wheel drive, but I have to say in the years that I've been doing the later years of doing regionals, and certainly now nationals as well, I absolutely love two-wheel drive. I find that nowadays with four-wheel drive it is so much on the edge in that a lot of the time with the tracks that we're running, high grip Astro tracks, high grip carpet tracks, you're very much on the edge of everything with four-wheel drive, whereas the two-wheel drive cars, I feel they're just more, you can push them well. I love driving the two-wheel drive, and I think it just requires a bit more finesse. So for me now, two-wheel drive. I have a number, I suppose. I mean, in the very early days, I did used to love Formula One. I'm not so keen on the way it's going nowadays. I think the days when I used to watch it as a kid, when we had the likes of Ayrton Senna, Alan Prost, Nigel Mansell, I think those were real glory days of F1. It was much more about the driving than anything else, and I think that sport in particular has gone into a real tactical game now. There's many different motorsports that I enjoy, including World Rally Cross. I think is one of the most up and coming. It's a great spectator sport, and the ideas that they have there are great. So for me, in that discipline, Andreas Bakkerud is just, I think he's just a pleasure to watch. So those are some of my heroes. Famous red-orange shell. I think it's very dependent on light, but you know, my cars, everyone knows they're white, pink and black. You know, that is the colour. There's no arguing with that at all. So for me, I think, you know, in bright daylight, normal light, it's orange, and you've just got to accept it.